I'm very happy to have him here. He's the director of the Institute for Cognitive Sciences and Technologies at the University of Siena in Italy. And Cristiano can look back on a very long and distinguished research career. He was born in Rome in 1944, and he's been as I said, distinguished researcher since the early 1970s. He's worked in cognitive psychology and artificial intelligence, and he's had quite a number of positions, including being a full professor of cognitive science at the University of Siena, the director of the Institute for Sciences and Technologies at the National Research Council of Italy, as well as a professor for psychology and economics at the University of Rome. His research in the early days has focused on language and semantics, and he's especially well known for his research in cognitive agent technology, cognitive agent theory and architectures. And in that context he has focused on the concepts of autonomy and goal-directed behavior. And true to the notion of multi-agent systems, Cristiano has focused his research also on the concepts of social cognitions and social simulation techniques, especially concerning social conventions, social institutions like norms, trust and social emotions, as well as social self-organization. And being someone who has done research in social self-organization and social simulation, it's a pleasure to have Cristiano here, because his work basically has been a foundation and an inspiration for my own work all the time. So I'm very happy to have you here and to hear your talk today, which will be about the role of AI concerning cognition and self-organization in a hybrid society and coupled reality, which I believe will be about the question of what it means not just to develop new technology, but being essentially a social engineer, and what that means for us as scientists and researchers, as well as for society that is basically faced with the results of our research. So Cristiano, thank you for being here, and I will no longer steal your time, but I'm looking forward to hearing your talk.
Thank you for your words, and thank you for inviting me to this conference, which to me is a very strategic one. It's in a very strategic area in my perspective. So the problem is that you...
No, we can
okay.
Take it.
This one? That you engineers and we create autonomous, intelligent, social agents in a new society which is hybrid of intelligences and mixed, as I explained. We are not building a new technology. I'm sorry for that. It's not just a technology for industry, but it's a new socio-cognitive technical system, which means that your technology is deeply changing human mind and human social interaction and structure. So its new form of society is an anthropological revolution, very clearly. So you are social engineers, we are social engineers, but are we aware of this? Are we responsible for that? I will focus on some problem and dangers of the digital and web revolution and of this mixed virtual and physical reality and hybrid society with natural and artificial intelligence together. We live in this society. I mean AI and multi-agent community, are responsible for the introduction of agents. I'm proud of that, as autonomous entity, which means proactive, with initiative, with their own learning, their own reasoning, their own evolution, and so on, not just programmed. And social, that is working with us, cooperating with us, or conflicting with us. And able also to follow norms, and in some cases also to violate them, probably, and to help us, but in a critical way, not just executing an order, not just by execution, but doing something for our goals in some autonomous way. So they could something more than requested, different was requested. This was very, very human-like form of cooperation. This was the correct research direction, an avoidable solution for a really intelligent interaction with these entities. Otherwise, we're not able to use just as, like machines. It was also very important for science, because your domain is also science. Multi-agent system is a science domain. It was very important for understanding human mind and human society by a computational modeling of that. Let's use a red star for signaling to you some notion that should not be taken as a common sense notion, but is a notion that requires a serious theoretical examination, because you are doing science and you need clear, well-defined concept, not just common sense concept. Like, for example, the notion of dependence, which is the basic of any form of sociality, which means that I need the resources or the skills of another. This is the base for any form of cooperation and conflict on sociality. Or the notion of autonomy, which is not just proactivity, anticipation of what I need, initiative, but it's also the fact that you have another information, you have another power, so you have different capability, cognitive and practical capability. And very important, the notion of goal adoption, I will be back on that, which is when your help is going beyond just obedience and execution. And goal delegation and reliance, which when I trust on somebody else for doing something I need. Agents are that. We rely on them. We delegate to them some goal to achieve. That's why trust is so fundamental and important. Just a bit clarification on the notion of goal adoption. There are different kinds of goal adoption, which means that I take a goal of yours and I do something for your goals. So your goal becomes my goals. There can be spontaneous goal adoption, when I just spontaneously help you. Perhaps you don't know that. So I help you without you don't know. You didn't request nothing to me. Overhelp, which means that I accept your goal, I do something for you, but more than you requested. This is very fundamental in any form of cooperation. I ask something, you give more than that. And it's a very critical form in human cooperation, which is what we call critical help. I ask you something, you do something different for my goal. Not was I required, because it was a wrong move, but you achieve my goal by doing something different from my request, and so on. But in any case, you help me, you do that for my good, for my goal. We call this tutelary role. I will back on that. I'm not repentant at all of this trend of autonomy, agency, and artificial intelligence, social artificial intelligence. On the contrary. However, this obliges you to become aware of possible appropriation of your creation, of possible unacceptable uses of this instrument you are building. There are dangers in ICT and AI, and in particular in autonomous agent augmented hybrid intelligence. Are we missing the control of our intelligent entities? Not of the agents, not of the robots, but of their possible uses. Are we ready for an anthropological revolution grounded in intelligent technology, artificial mixed society, which also is an economic, social, and political revolution we should be aware of? For the mass media, the main problems are the privacy, the security on my site, on the web, hacker attacks, anthropomorphism of robots and agents, war and artificial soldiers, ethic inside artificial creation and algorithms. A very important issue, to say nothing about the problem of work position and the situation of the workers. But let's say something on this problem. For example, let's take the one, very famous one, war and artificial soldier arm. Super Sure, Carnegie Mellon president, said injecting ethical discussion into AI was necessary as the technology advanced. While the idea of Terminator robots is far-fetched, the United States military is studying autonomous weapons that could make killing decisions on their own. Finally solved the problem of the poor general. You remember Bertolt Brecht poem, I wish. General, your tank is a powerful vehicle. It smashes down forests and crushes hundreds of men, but it has one defect. It needs a driver. General, your bomber is powerful. It flies faster than a storm and carries more than one elephant, but it has one defect. It needs a mechanic. General, man is very useful. He can fly and he can kill, but he has one defect. He can think. Finally, General no longer need the human driver or mechanic, and the AI driver can think, yes, but we General can decide how and control how it will think, so solve the problem. ICM Tech News 3 days ago published this information, this science alert. Over 100 AI experts are urging the United Nations to ban killer robots. Okay, but this is a very well-known problem. Another second problem, engineering moral agents. This is the sentence in the last year DAX2 seminar, quite important. Imbuing robots and autonomous systems with ethical norms and values is an increasingly urgent challenge. Given rapid developments in, for example, driverless car, unmanned air vehicle drones, and care assistant robot. And so there are two immediate problems for our community. The formalization of ethics in a form able to be implemented in machine, okay, and the implementation of moral reason and conduct in autonomous systems. Only this? Which norms, which value, which ethic should they implement? It's not a technical problem. It's not a technical problem only. So following the mass media, the problems are mainly this one. I don't discuss all of them. Let's, for me, mention not less serious problems, some of the other not less serious problems. First problem, is our intelligent technology research only business-oriented just because we need the money for research? It might be. Consider this MIT news of last year. Meeting of the minds for machine intelligence, industry leader, computer science students, and venture capitalists gathered to discuss how smarter computers are remaking our world. Once a machine is educated, it can help experts make better decisions. Saving machine can help us evaluate the social policies. Are only this the right subject, the right mind to involve in this decision? This is the media of the mind for machine intelligence for discussing about ethical and political and social consequences in our society. What about other subjects to be involved, like moral, political, philosophers, sociologists, trade unions, social democratic movement, like women movement, like Occupy Wall Street, poor countries, and so on? Are not these other minds for deciding the impact of machine intelligence on our society? Why alliance only between academy, scientists, capitalists, and businessmen? Is this so obvious now, so undisputable in current culture to become even invisible to us, but should be visible? I think so. Notice that they say once a machine is educated, it can help experts make better decisions. Same machine can help evaluate the social policies. Better for whom? Better is a specific notion. Better is good for the goal of somebody. So better for whom? It's a political problem, not technical problem, this better. For poor, powerless people, for poor country, or for dominating classes, lobbies, power, and countries dominating. Analogous problem, New York Times last year, New Research Center to explore ethical vision theory. Carnegie Mellon University planned to announce that it will create a research center that focuses on the ethics of artificial intelligence. The ethics center called Gates Endowment for Ethics and Computational Technology is being established at a time growing international concern about technology. That has already led to an array of academic, governmental, and private effort to explore a technology that until recently was largely stuff of science fiction and so on. And as a society, we make thoughtful ethical choice about how the software machine are used. But as a society, it's not the same of academic, governmental, and private effort. It's not the same. It should be something broader. So, last example. The ex-CEO chief executive officer of Google and current president of Google CDA, has been nominated by Ash Carter, U.S. Defense Secretary, chairman of the Innovation Advisory Board of Pentagon. The aim of the innovation organization is the full exploitation of Silicon Valley best practices for military purposes. So let's conclude this question. Why an alliance only between academy, scientists, and capitalists, and businessmen, and war power is so obvious and disputable that we don't see him? Is our intelligence technology research only business-oriented because we need money? Second problem, second question, hidden interest. Security, privacy, war, is for sure very relevant issue we have to reflect on, but not the most relevant issues. There is a very serious problem of hidden interest underlying this technology, of manipulation of us as users and as programmers, of exploitation, of anti-democracy, are not less important. We have to be conscious of this, not just to be manipulated, unaware, although genial servant of those interests and forces. Democracy is not just a formal, misinformed voting ritual. Democracy needs understanding, knowledge of real process. So we have to foster a real intelligence, a real understanding, a real empowerment of people in such a hybrid form of society, in such evolution. What is the meaning of manipulation? Manipulation is a very crucial theoretical notion. It's not just influencing. Manipulation is a special form of influencing. X influences the behavior of the other guy by some action, by some communication, changing the goal of the other guy, induce it to do something, but in a hidden way. It's not explicit that he's trying to influence the other one. He's not communicating his intention to influence the other one. So you change my mind and my behavior, but I don't know that you intend to change my behavior. This is manipulation, very frequent social move. And we are building a lot of manipulating technologies. So what we need not only improved collective intelligence, very important, but improved collective awareness of this process, which is a very basic form of intelligence. Understanding what we are doing and why we are doing that. Who is nudging us? Who is pushing us in that direction unconsciously? So intelligent agent and intelligent algorithm had to help us to understand not only our goal, but to understand what we need, what we prefer, and how to decide, help us in our decision by revealing us and correcting our rational bias and our affective bias, is very important. But they should help us also to understand our finalities, the aims of our behavior, because the finality of our behaviors go much beyond our mental intention, what we want to do. We are following goals that are not in our mind. This is Adam Smith's famous sentence in the analysis of economic society. So they have to help in rational decision making, for sure. But the real problem is not just our decision be just fully efficient and rational, not misinformed, not biased, and this data will help a lot. But the problem is in favor of whom is our decision? We should be aware of the interest, not only of our goal, of our intention, but the interest that we are satisfied by our behavior. Not only our goal, conscious or unconscious, declared or ascribed to me by my agent. The system ascribed to me certain goal, perhaps I do not have. And this is the problem of theory of functions of human behavior, which are goals external to our mind, impinging on us, on our mind, and shaping the mind, but not intended conscious purpose of our behavior. We follow these functions without understanding them, without deciding about them, although they are not only emerge from our collective behavior, but they feed back and emerge, shaping our mind. This is an homage to my colleague Rosaria Conte in our emergence theory. She was dead last year. Also the goal of our agent, the goal of the robot, or if you prefer, the aims of their rules and procedures, serve to some functions, are for something, are useful to some external, not some goal chosen and understood by the robot or by the agent, Are this function, this utility of their behavior, explicit, transparent, at least to us or for us? They favor some interest. Is it intended or not intended by us? Better, to which value do they respond? Perhaps do not share by us, but at least clear, at least transparent, or just hidden, obscure. And technology can help a lot to make transparent this underlying process. And this is also the theory of interest. Interest is a strange form of goals. It is what is better for me, what should be a goal of mine, but I don't understand, so I do not intentionally pursue it. It should be my good, what is better for me, but I don't understand. It's a crucial social notion. It's enough that you think to the mother-child, father-child, teacher-student, doctor-patient relation is always a relation tutorial in relation to your interest, to your good, that perhaps you don't understand, you don't know. So a very crucial notion. This is defined the tutelary role. X take care of my interest, of my good, even in conflict with my intention, because I don't understand what is better for me. I'm not able to know, to choose that. It's a very crucial relation that will be very present in the new intelligent technologies in society, with a lot of delicate problems of paternalism and so on. In a lot of circumstances, agents will decide for us, delegated or not delegated by us, possibly in a tutelary role, protecting our interest, what is good for us. Even they would just use hints and prompts or just a little push, which is very famous now in economic theory, the celebrated liberal nudges. Nudges. They push consumers, they push citizens to do something, not by imperative, prohibition, law, but just some unconscious suggestion. By exploring how the stimulus presented is illicit impulse association. And they claim that this is much better because we are more free. I fully disagree. If somebody pushes me unconsciously to do something, without I understand that is want that they do something, I'm not more free. I prefer an explicit imperative, a prohibition, a law, an order. At least I know that he wants that I do something, and not just inducing me unconsciously. So I disagree that this makes us more free, the nudges. Moreover, for whose benefit, advantage of whom, who is judging what is better for me, for us? Am I sure that the system carry on my good really understand what is better for me, better than me? It is possible. It is necessary, and not so trivial. Is this really in our interest, or primarily in the interest of financial or information dominant powers, or in many countries even of the political regime? This holds not only for pushing, but also for more explicit influencing device like a recommender system, which will know us better than us, the recommender system. Will they give us recommendation and suggestion in our interest, in a tutelary real attitude, or will they follow market criteria, just a more effective personalized advertising pushing us to buy something? Will be they on the side of the user or on the side of the seller? It's not the same. Moreover, tutelary doesn't mean protecting me individually, personal, private protection, interest, but also helping me to understand and take care of the common interest, of possible collective subject and community and pressure, and also make me conscious of conflict of interest underlying. So I don't not doing my interest because I'm in favor of the interests of others. And make me conscious of the common, of the public good, and the relevance and respect of the environment, energy, water. So tutelary role should protect my personal private goal, but also my interest in relation to the commons. This should be a very crucial tutelary function of agent and so on. So we need augmented intelligence by distributed and collective and so on. But also we need augmented social awareness. That is, we should better understand, make transparent, how does it work, the invisible hand which is the god of the liberalism view of society, which organized the emergent and spontaneous social order, not so spontaneous, is the complexity, organize an order of society. Nobody decide, nobody understand, nobody plan it. It's a self-organization. It's the invisible hand governing the society. Could we make visible this? Third problem, the mutual truth algorithm. This is famous culture in Rome of the mutual truth. Clearly, we have developed an algorithm for ascertaining the truth in that mess of data, assertion, access, news, which will be diffused, accessible to the web. An algorithm for decide about reliable sources, credible information, what is true among so many different claims and data. There is no alternative to that. However, on which basis such algorithm will ascertain what is true? Only on the basis of the convergence of sources, or reliability, or the basis of the number of convergence, of the net structure of the sources, on the direct, indirect access to the fact, to the object, or also on the basis of the values, and on the sharing and acceptability of the values of the sources. A very problematic issue. Even for official science, there is this problem. Is it always capture and say the truth, science? And there will be dogmatic truths and undisputable authorities, like in any culture, in the new web culture. George Orwell was right. The people will believe what the media tells them they believe. Is unfortunately very true. So we need some technology against this. And there is also this problem, as I say. Which culture and value will be assumed as the right ones? Are we allowed to distinguish between a conflict of value and of interest from a mere conflict between more or less credible data, knowledge, more or less grounded, direct, controlled, and reliable? There's a danger of mixture of this. Fourth problem, presences in our mixed reality and society. The autonomous and proactive intelligent entity that you have created will become presences here, roles, social roles in our hybrid society, human artificial, and mixed augmented reality. They combine the virtual and real natural automatic prosthetic world. It's not real reality and the virtual one. They will be together. Now the problem will be, are we able to manage this autonomous and too informed intelligent, a too intelligent agent? It's not just a matter of level of delegation, how much they are autonomous, possibility of initiative, overhelping, no control, norm violation. This is our problem, serious problem. But there is also another matter. Which role, social role, will those material, immaterial, visible, invisible entities play in our life and our environment? For example, will they be our guardian angel with a tutelary role, pushing hard to do something good for us or preventing that we do something wrong, protecting and empowering us? Or, less religiously, will they be our Jiminy Cricket, the talking cricket with its recommendation and advices and reproach? Or will they be our supervisor, observing us in ICT panopticon we live in and controlling for somebody else our behavior? Or will they be our tempting spirit, pushing us to do something funny and not always our duty, and some temptation? Or even our tempting devil, for the benefit of somebody else, of marketing policy, of monopoly, of the influencing and manipulating manager for hidden political economic powers, like in Pinocchio's story. So we believe in a mixed reality, a mixed body and mind. And there is a nice question for a cognitive science, which is the following one. Will we incorporate, feel these entities as part of us, as our mental prosthesis, Will we listen to that moral or rational voices as our own mental or consciousness voice in an expanded superego? Possible. Or will our superego be externalized, not me? We will listen to her as to the voice of our mother or our teacher, sometimes we listen to. Or we will become voice hearers? Crazy guy? Possible. Or will it be boring talking cricket that try to correct us like wooden marionettes, but with the advantage that we can turn off that boring voice? In my view, both solutions will probably be there. The social one, externalized voice and agent I interact with, and reflexive social one, an augmented internalized self and consciousness with a lot of voice inside me. Will I prefer to maintain my judgment, to discuss with some friend or advisor and listen to him or do not pay attention? And yes, to have my own, this character, these entities I interact with, recommending me. I want that he has my values and my character, personality, or be different from me. For example, be much more rational in decision, less emotional affective, take the right economic decision, not like me. Or I would like that this entity be like me, with my personality. Or I change and acquire a new self with new introjected conflict and discussion and values inside me. Okay, another possibility. Second aspect of presences. These presences, which interest we care of? Of the interest of the seller, of me as consumer? Of the interest of the dominant group, of the submitted people? That is, which political and moral views will orient them, not our car drivers, but the society drivers, our life navigator, much more problematic than car driver. They will decide for us. Yes, that's sure. But for us is ambiguous question. It means instead of, another meaning is for me, for our good. And if they decide for me, I would like they decide for my good, in this sense. Social robots and intelligent agents will not govern in their own interest. No, this is science fiction. But in the interest of whom? Empowering whom? Me? And will we be able to monitor and understand that, to make transparent to people in the interest of whom are those decisions and those advice and those pushing and those recommendations? Last point. The need for developing technology for disagreement. It's very relevant to support agreement technologies. There was a Spanish project for several years, and then a European project, very important, intelligent system for effective and rational argumentation, negotiation, for good compromise, fair business, for having commitment to norms and so on, for consumer protection, very good, very important. However, agreement technology implicitly have two sides. Let's look more directly at the other important side of the disagreement. First, there is a too strong ideology and rhetoric about society just as cooperation, collaboration, common intent, collective advantages, how to reach a convenient agreement, equilibrium, and so on. Moreover, the web encourages this view, not accidentally, is favoring a deviating political feeling. We against them, governors, political caste, centralized power. This perception of we is completely misleading. There is no we with common values and goal and interest, which has to be unified against the political power as such, in case against the real power, the financial power that has usurped the political power in many countries. Population is composed of different classes, genders, generation, and culture with very different conflicting values and interests. This is the real conflict, not we and them. And political activity and forces were supposed precisely to represent and protect those different social interests, not just only the common interests. So some conflict of interest or value can be solved and reconciled in a common interest, but a large part of political government, of decision, is not for a common advantage, for a fair distribution. It's for the prevalence or the advancement of the interest of a given group by reducing the power of the others. This is political decision in any civilization, any country. Making conflict to emerge and become aware, making express disagreement, making transparent which interests are hidden and prevailing should be in democracy one of the main tasks of intelligent social technologies. Sometimes in order to facilitate a balanced conflict resolution agreement, sometimes for supporting the opposition and express a disagreement that is the ground of democracy. Using web technology for organizing movement is okay, but not so good without promoting critical consciousness, understanding of real social interests, of hidden powers and conflict. To provide new environment, content, instrument for promoting motivated conflict, for making them well-grounded, for solving them not just by persuasion, by opinion, but by some concrete achievement should be a good result. Conflict is the presupposition of democracy. No conflict, no democracy. Democracy is not only a response to conflict for moderating them, it will be a way of encouraging, growing, and solving them. Conflict are not only to be governed, reduced, reconciled, they should even be promoted in democracy. And this is in fact the role, the function of specific forces and organizations like trade unions, parties, group of interest, association, movement, the crucial stakeholders of any democracy, and also definitely responsive to the typical social, cultural, economic progress in Western countries. Of course, conflict might be dangerous, conducing us to fighting violence, war, of course. So it's true that society and group need rules for government then, to avoid degeneration. Centralized state was one of those solutions. The state monopolized violence. Private or group violence is forbidden. This is modern state. Conflict are not just conflict of view of opinion, as a lot of people believe. Conflict is just disagreement of opinion, different knowledge. No, this is very naive. There are conflicts of objective interest. If you realize your goal, I cannot realize my goal or lose something. So the problem is conflict between interests of group or classes, or conflict between private interest versus common interest, the common and public good. So conflict, in fact, do not have a verbal, a cognitive, a technical solution just by sharing information, data, and knowledge. They have a political solution. It is a matter of power, of the prevailing interest and compromise, the equilibrium between the parts. Viva conflict. Conflict without disagreement and agreement, both. And thus the motor and principle of democracy and of its possible effectiveness in changing society in favor of the submitted subject, disadvantaged classes and groups. Viva conflict, and let's improve technology for supporting this very fundamental social structure and activity. Third aspect of disagreement, the second aspect of disagreement technology is the idea of life navigator. ICT and cognitive technology are strongly submitted to the private interest, as I say. They are used to recognize your profile and your interest, but not for empowering you, but in order to propose, induce you to buy something, to buy some good, to buy some idea. They are monitoring, analyzing you in order to manipulate you and influence your choices. We need some anti-manipulation AI technologies. I would like to have not so much a personal virtual or robotic psychotherapist or a robotic physiotherapist. I would like much more a life navigator in my main social roles like consumer, but not a navigator saying turn right, turn left, buy that, don't buy this, but a tutor, a trainer, inducing me to understand, to reflect about why I'm oriented in that direction, why am I choosing that product, or if I have the right information or I have wrong beliefs induced. Making me conscious of who and how is persuading or just unconsciously manipulating me, and so on. Mix a reality not only with some tempting devil, but with some virtual guardian angel of my life. Third aspect of disagreement technology. We need environments and agents for learning and developing critical thinking attitude, which is not so natural in human life. To manage our cognitive motivational biases, to support us in argumentation, in discussion, in understanding tricky argument of the other, to resist to the prevalence of influence of audience against quality and so on, but also in our work to resist to propaganda, to academy pressure and structure, to gender models, to fanaticism, to superstition, to urban legends, and so on. We have impressive possibility with the new intelligent interacting technology, big data, and so on for that. They should be just used for selling and us for dominating, or also for give us new knowledge and critical thinking in our society. Concluding notes. Self-organization of society means out of mind. Nobody understand, plan, intend what is the organization of society. Society works thanks to our partial intelligence, partial understanding of what we are doing and building. We cooperate the joint act not just in spite, but in a sense thanks to the fact that we are not fully understand and intend what we are jointly doing, thanks to our stupidity. And even if we disagree with the emerging social order, we do what we have to do. We cooperate unconsciously or consciously with this invisible organization. Society is governed by the invisible hand, as I said. Obviously, there are also very dysfunctional and undesirable results of our blindness, stupidity, and the fact that society is organized by hidden forces. This is a form of alienation. We are dominated by our own power, our own social intellectual powers, but delegated, not inside us. We are not aware of this domination of our alienated powers. We do not realize, we do not decide, intend to create such a collective, such institutional power impinging on us, external to us. Society is governed not only by the invisible hand, by a Leviathan. It's a very classical political theory. Can we overcome our alienation, at least partially, by the new technology of information and agents? Will the Leviathan become a giant connected informal community of agents managing their collective power and what they are doing? I wish so, but I'm in part skeptical about that, also because for our cognitive basic limits of humankind. And also I worry about the possible very negative effect of the web on democracy, like net demagogy and populism. Anyway, we could exploit collective distributed hybrid intelligence and big data and runtime feedback and information from the local stakeholder and intelligence sensor in this moment to adjust the prediction, computational learning and predicting, as a previous speaker explained, and computer agent social simulation, very crucial for prediction, modeling what is happening, understanding and adjusting. And also virtual reality and serious game for learning and for imagining what can happen, what to do. By this trick, we could make, in a sense, visible the invisible hand in parts and partially govern it. I wish so. I wish so. Is the digital society artificial intelligence may either exploit or overcoming our natural stupidity? But it's not convenient the same for everybody. Mark Twain said this brilliant sentence: if voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it. Okay, it's quite right. But the problem is more serious. It's much harder than that. It's not just a complot. It's that we vote in a self-defeating way, in a general, our collective stupidity. It's much serious than that, the problem. The problem is my political education, education to the commons, digital society, and participatory democracy supported by the new technology be enough and solve this cognitive and social problem of our limits? They will help. But given the immediate local perception of conflicting interest, the blindness of common interest that we have, the inside group, outside group, and so on. I have some doubt. Anyway, in a couple of centuries, they will see if this will change our society. So what I'm presenting and concluding is a pessimism of intellect, but an optimism of the will. Let's mention a very, very expert of power theory, Napoleon Bonaparte. When a government depends on bankers for money, they are not the head of government control matters. The hand that gives holds sway over the hand that receives. Money has no homeland, and financiers have no patriotism or decency. The only objective is gain. More than 2 centuries ago, Napoleon Bonaparte, really expert of power, of political power, so clear. Thrasymachus, philosophers of Greek, even worse. Justice is nothing more than whatever is advantageous to the stronger. Oh my God, unfortunately, it's quite right. Can we build some artificial intelligence, some hybrid and mixed society and reality smarter than us, but also on our side, in order to protect our collective interests and commons and to have a more just society? And so we can eventually face Thrasymachus' unavoidable result. Competence are here. Ideas are here. What about means for doing that kind of research? What I propose is the new technology as the glass of the invisible. The great revolution of ICT, of digital monitoring and predicting by simulation, can give to society, to people, to demos, a glass where to observe themselves and follow what is happening really. A glass reflects also what is invisible, hidden presence, the future. Not only what is not present here and can be virtually present for interaction, can change this world from the virtual one and vice versa, the presence, but also a glass able to show what cannot be seen, understood in principle, the future, and the hidden phenomena interest. For example, can I see now, who is now getting my personal data, and for what? I want to see now. To see what is currently invisible is artificially augmented awareness, social awareness that we need. This is the real revolution of artificial intelligence, possibly including itself, being aware of its uses and of its real functions, and the fact that it's not changing just technology, but society and cognition. Sorry for such a pessimistic talk, but I wish you get the message of the optimism of the will. Thank you for your attention. Sorry for my English.
Cristiano, thank you so much for your talk. You raised a lot of questions,
yes.
And maybe there are even more questions from the audience. I believe we have a little more time before the lunch break. Well, Matthias has one.
Hi, thank you, Cristiano, for the tons of overwhelming questions. And I'm feeling bad being a human, actually. But you know, overall, so you were, I mean, in my mind, I think you started off really nice, and putting questions up front, and, you know, but then what are your answers? What are your, say, or at least give us hints, you know, into what direction to go. And if I may say personally some things with respect to the, you know, we are limited, you know. I mean, neuroscientists try to decipher what our brain is actually doing with respect to our consciousness and unconsciousness, making conscious decisions, unconscious decisions, etc. We are far away from actually understanding ourselves. So how can we then build, say, AI robots? Even, it's not about, we can perfectly build AI robots killing us. But that's not the question. I mean, I think what you were up to, or at least I understood the tons of questions in that way, is how can we make it better? Now, how can we avoid that? So we are limited by our own. So this is like, I just said that to my colleague here. This is like demanding that the planet Earth is giving birth to a different universe. So what are, how can we actually exceed our own capacity, our own mental capacity? We are not even aware of things. So how do we actually methodologically and technologically implement things which are better than we are supposed to be, and we think we should be? So for me, it's a dilemma. What you try to put up in front of us.
Okay.
I mean, the questions are nice. I mean, they're political, they're social, and I agree with half of them. But then in the second part of your talk, I couldn't get anything, say, hey, that's dear AI researchers, social computing researchers, get together, try these routes, and yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
The message was not only that there are natural limits of kind that can be supported by augmented intelligence, which does not just mean augmented memory, augmented reasoning, augmented rationality in decision, but can be also augmented understanding of social relations, even beyond our immediate context, understanding real social process thanks to these new instruments. But only, there are not just natural limits of us. We are also manipulated in our understanding, in our choices. So I would like to some instrument able to explain me when and why I'm manipulated, and signaling me that. What to do? I shouldn't say that. One move is convince a lot of our students that the objective is not just to make money, make money, make money. It's a very deviant position for scientists, also for engineers. It was not Turing objective, not so. Understanding theory, explanation theory, new techniques for society. So this is a cultural changement. It's important. And second, not less important, to convince political power, government, to give money for this kind of research of artificial intelligence. Also in this direction. Market is very fundamental, technology development is very important, economic growth. Yes, but not only. It's not less important. They understand this now in education, technology for school, for learning. But they don't understand how important is technology for a different participation of people in society, transparency of society, supporting of reasoning, understanding, of connection, collaboration, conflict, and so on. The third idea is, in our community, is conflict. Science is based on conflict. Please, more discussion, more fighting, more disagreement. Conflict in science is different, because conflict in science should, in principle, be just conflict of ideas. Science is based on conflict, but of ideas. Should not be conflict of power. Unfortunately, somebody is a conflict of powers, of academic powers. But more conflict. So let's not disagree about different possible uses and perspective of our intelligence-supported technology. So I do not have a lot of recommendation of that. My main recommendation let's be aware of what we are doing. Which means let's be aware of the possible pressure and uses of our technologies. This is my main message. And when you project, to be very trivial, when you project a new product, do you ask to yourself, I do that in the advantage and for the seller, or on the position of the buyer? It's not the same. It's not the same. So now there is a large movement try to defend interest of the buyers, for example, from the point of view of the quality of product, health, and so on. But not just this the problem. The problem is that why should I be pushed to buy? Son, this is life, this is power. But this is crazy. So I should have some help in looking at that, in realizing that, and some recommender, not recommending me to buy, recommended why you want to buy it. So something like that, which is a different perspective. Okay?
Okay, Cristiano.
Sorry for being too long.
I think we'll have to postpone most of the conflict to the lunch break, but I believe we should have one last short question before that.
Last short question is there.
So, no, Cristiano?
No, I'm not sent. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only web, this is fundamental, but also simulation. Because it's important that we see what will happen, what is happening if I do that, if we do that, what is happening, what really happened, we can see now this. Here and now, before decision, we can see what we are really doing, complexity level doing, not individually. So, by the web, immediate information that we were not aware of, possibly the right one, the interest one, the true one, and so on. So I agree, web is fundamental, but web is also crowd of irrelevant and false information. So this is the problem that we mentioned before, but I agree. Thank you.
Okay, ciao Cristiano, thank you very much for your talk. I think you